thought I'd say hi because I'm very behind on uploading things, and I've run out of hard disk space completely, which is a difficult problem. Uh, I got a guy that would sell me one, but the price he's quoting me is like twice what it is on Amazon. So I don't know about that. That's one thing people could bring down and donate. People always ask me, what can they send? Well, the truth is, cash is king anywhere, and cash can get things done that nothing else can. But I should have a list of like every object that would be useful here or that would not be useful, and why that is. Because I want to live a hyper-conscious life where I'm super aware of all the energy inputs and outputs to every system I have contact with, you know. And so uh, that's a lot of thinking to do. Luckily, in this particular environment, one of the benefits is that I'm committed to this place providing really basic, simple housing solutions. They're comfortable, and they're comfortable because they're well designed. But they don't have fancy finishes, and they may not have fancy tile work. You know, I think that getting the basics down really well and getting good at some basic construction techniques, assemble a team, you know, or hire a whole one. Because I should be having buildings professionally built here every year, or the project can't grow and expand. Now, right now, it's not a problem, but there's sort of this chicken egg thing where, you know, I want to host people, but the truth is, I don't have a lot of really great housing. And so I think people should understand that that really is actually part of the goal. Get tired of walking around. Maybe I can put this over here. That'll be good enough. I got coffee. I'm so happy about it. And I keep it in a thermos. And that's one thing I want to get more of here at the Bosque is very strong thermoses, because they allow us to literally put heat inside your body in a really convenient, easy way, while also being very healthy. You know, especially like in the morning, you should guzzle some water. That should be like one of the first things you do. Guzzle some water, pee and poo, you know, get your clothes on, and let's get some shit done. It's taken me years to think up what the culture of this space should be, could be, what I want, uh, what's best for the forest itself, because I won't be around forever. And it's still the same goal. I've gotten better at saying it, maybe. But when I first got here, I thought I was going to do an old growth forest and just touch nothing. Now, that's a bad forestry management technique for a variety of reasons, including a lack of biodiversity and increase in plague risk and fire risk and all sorts of problems. So I feel like I'm rediscovering these ancient agricultural techniques. You know, there's stuff like tierra preta, which the Mayans had. No doubt, all over the world in a variety of climates, people have experimented with growing plants in ways that require absolute minimum of input with maximum potential output. And in that way, it's been good that I didn't have the resources to, or knowledge, to come in and kind of change a lot, because it took me a long time to think about it. One of my goals is to document that thinking process and share it with anybody who has land anywhere that they might be willing to be in a semi-protected yet profitable state. I hope you're following that. What I'm suggesting is that not all large landowners are bad. In fact, there could be great cases where they're actually the safest place for that land to be to protect it. And they have the resources to do it. Because a lot of things get stolen through bureaucracy. Of course, there's other thieves in the world, but government is definitely one of the entities that will reduce your options a lot if you let them. I need to write up what I'm doing here because to some people it's controversial that I would ever cut a tree. The first tree I cut here was going to fall down on the roof of the house. And we have cut down lots of trees here. And guess what they do? The pines always come back growing like grass. But now the oaks have a chance, and there's more madrones now too. We were going to figure out how to germinate madrones better. Look, the madrono tree, I think it's arbutus is the scientific family name, and I have a treasure trove of madrones here. The older name of the place is actually Rancho Madrono, and I was going to have a different identity online versus locally. The truth is that those branding, those names got mixed together a little bit, so it just depends on who you are, which one you call it. But that was the original intent, was that Bosque Village be an online entity, and that the local rancho here is still exists locally. But that doesn't matter as much now. I don't think. I have a lot more experience. I'm a lot more comfortable being here. I know what I'm doing now a lot. I've had years and years to watch the effects of how we did something. I think it was 9 years before I put in the road. I'm now at almost 9 years after that. I didn't put in any swale road because I wasn't sure where they would go. And luckily, they're really thin little roads, so I just cut transportation through the forest on a contour, and and then I know that I can tweak that over time. So there's a lot of places around here where, I mean, the Barranca used to have water in it, and it doesn't now. It's terrible. And that's because humans have changed the water flow, and we could have changed it for better, but mainly we're just using it all up because the only way to have water for most of the year here is to really store it as rain capture. That is the ultimate way. It's under your control. It's not centralized. It won't fail catastrophically if it's done correctly. So, I was just invited a couple YouTubers. There was a variety of them. I forget who I sent notes to. There's an English guy I want to send a note to as well. It's weird because you never see his face. Very strange. But he's a witty guy, and his attitudes about what he sees around culturally in Mexico, I think, are pretty interesting. Um, there's this other couple that I commented on their thing a bit, and they were living for a year in one place in Mexico. Now they're going to travel around, and they're going to dedicate themselves to being full-time YouTubers. They're called the Yarbros, I believe, something like that. And they come from the States, and I don't think they speak very good Spanish, but that'll get fixed up. If they stick around in this country, they might hit a different country. I don't know. I hope they stick around here. They make real good videos, and you can see them getting better over time. There's some channel with Holly in Spanish, and I believe she lives in like somewhere in Mexico, and she's pretty cool because she talks about language, which I'm a big fan of. I have like a journalism background. I write a lot. I love the English language, and I love the Spanish language. Uh, so I like her videos occasionally. Should make a list of all the YouTubers I would want to invite here, and I suppose include Instagram people. But really, I'm looking for people who create fairly in-depth content of some kind. That would just be a general preference I would have for the intellectual development of the space, the interactions between people, and I think because it's important that we all step up in our own ways. I'm trying to do that literally, and I've been like working my legs a whole bunch more because I'm getting pretty damn sick of this bullshit. I mean, my left leg is still atrophied. It could get infected and I could lose it. That's really bad. So I'm going to fix that real quick. Winter's coming. Here, every day, the skies are usually clear in the winter. Occasionally, we'll have winter storms. I don't mind them. I'll take any water I can get any time. But this is a lot more comfortable than some places to be in the winter months. Now, the nights are really cold, and so I always try and tell people, explain like this place to them so they can be prepared. That's one thing I liked about the Yarbro's latest video. They're starting this new period in time. They have a vehicle, they have luggage and crap like that. They seem really organized, and that is always impressive to me. And the quality of their editing has increased over the time that they've been publishing, and that's always kind of cool. There's also a different couple, the Tangerinis, uh, and they're pretty cool. They've been making videos quite a while. Again, sometimes hearing the Spanish, I'm sure there's other people with better Spanish than me who look down on me for my grammatical errors. And so I don't want to ever be discouraging about anybody learning Spanish. Whatever level you're at, figure out how to get your needs met and work with society. If you're traveling, learn travel vocabulary, that kind of thing. One of the things I still have to do here is make a list of Bosque keywords. I wonder if that could be auto-generated by some kind of website. Like I could just cut and paste in pieces of text and have like a library of stuff or a notepad text file or something. That'd be pretty cool. If I could just then cut and paste everything to do with the Bosque in there, then it would look for keywords. It would look for interesting ones. My own videos currently suck. I'm doing lots of talking head stuff like this. I guess it's good because it's helping me become better on camera, especially going live like this. It's technically a little scary. Like I could say some obnoxious dumbass shit because I do that. I think it's important to explore concepts in complicated ways of all kinds. That said, I'm not much interested in a lot of activism here. I've already got my hands really full with a variety of big concepts in this project, and I don't want to ally with any political groups really. I have my own thoughts, and no one political group, organization, candidates, or philosophy really encompass what I believe, which is immensely complicated. And that's one of the reasons I call myself a philosopher, because of the way I play with ideas. And I really appreciate that in another person if they can do it well. And I think I should talk to more people online. There's one guy that I did one. I think I made a video with him. I forgot. And then there's a few other people. I think we should set up like 4-person podcasts because I really liked how Blab worked. It was a site that existed for a while. You're just limited to 4 people on the screen, and I think that's a really good number for recording stuff. We can, use Zoom or something else. I think I paid for a more expensive version of Zoom for a year. I don't know if it automatically renewed or what. I should try it out, find out if that's a tool that I can use, now. But I guess Facebook Live is just fine. Maybe I should try it actually live because I'm whistling out on this particular video right here. I am pre-recording it and uploading it as hidden, so no one can see it yet. And that's to make sure I don't say anything really stupid, because I actually don't want to offend people. I want to be helpful, but I do have very different views about how a lot of things should function in the world, and I hope that everyone does. I hope that we take our massive diversity of all the ideas we have about how society can function, and that we calmly discuss those, and we try and work against any forces that want to enslave or oppress anyone among us across the entire world. Hey, it's all ultimately a cauldron of cultures, and we can take the pieces we like of each one and that work better, like I'm actually against some aspects that exist in some cultures. And no one should get on my ass about that because I've sure hell heard a lot of criticism of the United States. I've hosted travelers from far away, and they have a mixed thing. The Europeans are probably the worst. I think they have some kind of weird jealousy complex about America or something. But I do agree with them on a bunch of stuff, like, and I don't keep that stuff a secret. I love the United States, and I have a love-hate relationship to the United States, just like Mexico has with the United States. Just like there's an increasing number of people, particularly there's more mixing of what we would call European people whose genetics are primarily from Europe. I'm almost all from Europe, and then I've got like one country in Africa where there's just this weird outlying color down there. And so somebody traveled around a long time ago. It's really exciting. I got my 23andMe DNA thing done, which may have been stupid. I don't know, but fuck it. I'll be dead sometime. What do I care? You know, it's not like I'm the only one doing it. So, and I've never been a serial killer, so I'm not going to come up in somebody's database. I wonder where my DNA all is. If somebody was going to go look for my DNA. I wonder how they do that. I guess this cup has my DNA on it. My DNA on it. Yeah. All right, so it's a gorgeous day. Today is Sunday. I believe that this might be Halloween, which is really cool. Happy Halloween to you. That's actually my absolutely most favorite holiday, or at least it used to be. I don't know if it still is or not. I should figure that out. It's because it's fun to dress up and be goofy or whatever you're being for whatever reason. I still had creative costumes in my 20s, went to costume parties, and a little bit less in my 30s, I think. And, you know, I try and wear weird shirts like this. In fact, out there, they're printing now just outlandishly wild patterns. And maybe I could even get my art to be on a shirt. That'd be totally cool. I don't know how much that costs. I need merch for the Bosque. I need merch for me. I will sell my soul in tiny pieces to many people. Nice people, of course. God dang. So it's a beautiful day out there. Absolutely gorgeous. And that's because of the clouds. We've had late day sun. But late day clouds. Actually, the clouds are here all day almost today. In fact, the sun has really not even shown directly. This is really great lighting. Oh, great angle work, Brian. Jesus. All this stuff around here is a huge maintenance thing to sign up for. The cool thing is I'm thinking so far out in the design in time, you know, like I'm not planning on doing anything right away. So what I can do is keep my options open. And so, you know, what kind of trees grow where? And then obviously roads, trails. I actually realized recently that I have a lot of spots that are harder to get to now because I put in the roads. And on the upper side slope, sometimes you have to kind of climb up a little bit through it. And what I have to do for every area that's like that is dig 2-person wide trails, in other words, a thick trail, or even have possibly a small bulldozer. Maybe I should look for a small bulldozer, because the one I used last time was massive, and it, you know, I was scared to use it. In a way, I was out there every day watching it, because I was afraid that I'd make a mistake with the planning of roads. And so far, I feel very confident I have made no mistakes. There's a pieces of road that I'm going to angle a little bit differently, and then we're going to widen a bunch of them, because now I know whether I want these roads at all. You know, because I had this big, huge machine, and that was an unwieldy machine. A smaller bulldozer, perhaps one of those scoopy things. I've never rented one of those, so I don't even know what they're called. In fact, I still don't know how to say bulldozer in Spanish. That's really lame. We just call it la máquina. And we usually know, based on the context, which máquina we're talking about. Fairly poor communication. It's a Spanglish in the Bosque. But I love that. Oh, back to my point I was saying is that I would not want to criticize anybody else's Spanish or English. And I would prefer it if the kind of people who do that, even if you can't communicate with a person at all, Don't be this kind of asshole who says, "We're in Mexico, you should speak Spanish." They don't fucking speak Spanish, and there's plenty of places you might want to go in the world where you don't speak the language sometime. You know, I want all the gringos to learn Spanish, and I want all the Mexicans to learn English, because they don't, most of them, where I live, they don't speak English. You know, Europeans are always surprised by this when they come here, because they've only traveled in places where there's a high percentage of people who speak English. If Mexico wants to be a big player on the international world, if they want better business opportunities here, better cultural opportunities, more tourism, and even being able to share your culture and friendship, you know, international friendship better, I think Mexico is obviously one of my favorite places in the entire world. That's why I live here. I do miss where I came from, particularly my friends, and that is a horrible thing. I don't know who I was friends with in what way, you know. Sometimes I was hosting parties. I have been known to be drunk on occasion. Um, but I'm usually a nice guy who parties politely, you know, and is delight to bring more life to the party. Of course, hosting it is a whole different thing, and I love hosting. And when I was in Seattle, I hosted all kinds of events. And it's almost like I want to set up those kinds of events, but built into an annual schedule here, right? Because like winter, like I mostly think of this place being closed in winter, and that's because the nights are so cold. If people can be prepared as if they're going skiing and camping in a location that gets cold, in other words, I mean, I should have more products here to sell to people who are unprepared, I suppose, but I really want to drill into people's heads that everything here is part of a cultural design. So things are not just done however the fuck you feel like doing them. There's a whole culture developing behind this, and I've spent since 2004 being here. I moved here when I was 37 years old. Weird time to move somewhere. So far, I've only had tastes of what I really want here. I certainly get the agriculture end is going great. That's probably the big success of this place. And that has to do with preserving species, preserving an entire, or really restoring an entire set of biological systems. You know, there's a whole mycological layer that is real interesting around here. We had a great expert out here on that. But I want more projects that are deeper in many ways. And I think someone mentioned as a reaction to some other video that I need to have a coherent project list. And I'm aware of that. I did just recently start making tons of project videos. The problem is I just go crazy with them, and I think of this big system oftentimes, and the steps, that order of things has to go a certain way. And that's like solving a combination puzzle. Which systems do you build, when, and how? And every single one of those systems has all kinds of things it affects. It affects reputation, economic opportunities, our effect in the local communities here, how we deal with the ongoing COVID thing, or really any sickness type things. And I've recorded a number of videos about that. Some of those are private because I'm saving them for people who are actually going to come here. And I tell you, my process is really strict. I say no all the time now. I say no usually at least once a day to somebody. And I've stopped reading email. I got to get back on that. I'm letting things fall apart. I thought about running a bigger crowdfunding campaign and really write things up better and do it at like $300,000. There are people out there with resources and money, which is something I don't have a lot of. I have one thing, a piece of land. That's all I got. And then a lot of knowledge and some wild-ass creativity. Some occasionally crazy-ass thinking. But, you know, hey, that's where all the fun is. So I have value for the project, and I have to figure some things out. And a number like $300,000 sounds like so much to me. But the truth is, I can barely get in and out of here now. I've been essentially trapped here for 2 months with the rains. Now, I think I got out 2 months ago when there was a little bit of a dry spell. But the vehicle's got to be a different vehicle. That's just how it is. Then I have to find people to partner with who have real value that they bring directly to the survival of the space and its development and their own self-development. Even that, every person is this really big mix of attributes, some of which are totally rules them out entirely. I am almost willing to rule out people who don't speak English or Spanish to a level that I can make a video with them talking in it and people will understand what they say. Doesn't have to be perfect, but too thick of an accent or too many grammatical problems, sometimes it's cute. I think sometimes, people kind of laugh at my Spanish, and I should speak more in Spanish, but right now I speak to trees and dogs again, and then this little black box that you live in. It's a really cool thorn. This is a hawthorn thorn. It makes a great toothpick. I usually don't use toothpicks. Oh my God, my teeth are dirty as fuck. This could be dangerous, though. It's extremely sharp. I think this should be used very carefully. Anyway, so where are we at? Well, we're just hanging out, I guess. I don't know how this actually broadcasts, or if when people watch it, if they can then comment on it still. I guess I'll find that out. I do not actually know how to use social media perfectly, but I seem to have a bunch of followers. Please do introduce your friends to me. Send a link to this video. I'll make it public. Why not? Or will I? I don't know. We'll see. And I know I've got a lot of pieces of the puzzle I got to fit together in really tricky ways. Some people have told me to write a business plan. I think that's a great idea. And it's actually business plans. And having families of businesses and deciding like who's running that where. Just if a service is needed, we can help with leadership and even investment on getting some cool projects going. I've got a friend here. His name is Buddha. Not kidding. Buda, Buddha. And he's a real cool guy. He's very personable, too camera shy, very annoying. Wants to learn English and improve that, so I totally support that. Is a metal worker who used to be in an ecological training program or something. I forget what section he was in, at the university across these hills over here, near Paracho. And I don't know much about how universities work here. They seem different than where I come from. If they fix that road to get there, that could actually be a place where I could be useful as a teacher. I can at least be an entertaining guest lecturer. I mean, hell, if I even did small stuff like get better solar ovens and then go over there and set up some tables and put solar ovens on them and cook stuff, and then people would see with their eyes, oh, these are different styles of solar ovens. Of course, I'm really into the evacuated tube solar hot water heater to hook it to every fucking thing. Anything that needs to ever get hot, if there's any way to do it with those kind of tubes, and then, coming into the building and have a heat exchanger, that's a little complex, maybe whatever. But I think they're a magic solution for heating up buildings in all kinds of climates at no ongoing cost. If you build that system right, then if you got to have the right kind of building. That's one of the problems, is that the architecture here does not usually take into account passive solar, and they should be, in my opinion. And this is what I'm going to do here, is anything I build, which is not true, not everything, although pretty close. If I built a little house for a donkey, I'd want him to be comfortable, and her, and their baby. That'd be really cool. So, wow, the architectural end of this project is huge. I have a place picked out where I want to try and build a kitchen. It's going to be, believe it or not, a second floor kitchen. The first floor will have a wall of solar evacuated solar hot water tube heaters. And I don't know how many will be there, but that's okay. We want roofs for things. We can keep it clean, capture rain off of it, channel more rain into there, and then we get it into a fully capturing system inside the building. there's a minimum number of attributes a building must have if it's going to be ecologically correct by my standards. Now, I'm not talking about LEEDs, and there's some other definitions of different kinds of building systems and how they can get certified by being extra ecological. Well, I have very different views about that than some of those buildings, some of those architects, some of those builders. I'm interested in building shit with stuff you can get here. I like concrete as material for a variety of uses, and it should be used wisely and well, but we should be experts at it. I've even got a great friend who, it's really weird. Anyway, he makes stuff out of rocks, right? He made a sink that's down there. He made a base for a totem pole that we actually did and flipped the whole totem pole into it. Really long totem pole. It's since rotted. So, yeah, I need to make a project list. It's just overwhelming what can happen here, especially if I partner with other people who are motivated, who have contacts and resources. Or comment and write thoughts on videos, and I'm serious about that. I rarely whine for views and stuff, but wow, Frida's way over there. Frida, why are you so far away? She has no fucking fear. That's why I worry about her. I haven't been able to get her into her appointment to sterilize her because it rained last night, which is absolutely fantastic. It actually rained on Halloween. That is just absolutely late in the year. I know that there was rains. I think it was my first year here. We went to Day of the Dead. I went with some person I knew, a friend, and then her couple of her friends. I forget. There was a small, tiny group, and we went to Sinsunsan, which was a very popular place to go. At that time in Sinsunsan, what I noticed was there was a lot of tour buses with really drunk people. I think that is an abuse of the beautiful cultural tradition of Dia de Muertos. And I'm not a conservative guy, and I'm certainly not telling you what to do. But I don't think that we should refer to it as a party or a festival. It is neither currently, and that's pretty just wrong direction as far as what it is. And it's not Halloween either. I love Day of the Dead so much. I hope that when I'm dead and buried in some graveyard, or maybe here in the Bosque, probably in a graveyard in Yotatiro, though. That's probably where I'll end up. Well, that's one other project idea for next year, is to take a whole bunch of plants that we have a surplus of here and start getting them going in the graveyard, which is also a great way to give cuttings to people. Essentially, if I get approval to do it from the local important people that or have good thoughts in Yotatiro, that would be fantastic to just plant things that don't need any care and do a bunch of them, like the red hot pokers. I have an aloe that I don't think everybody has, and I even have weirder plants. Some of them might not survive without care, so it may not be a totally smart idea. It really, every single plant we could consider could be considered, like magueys. And what I think I should do is just make a list of all the plants I have in surplus, what I use them or how I use them, right? Like I'm using cedar to make hedges. It'd be nice to get a lemon-scented cedar over there. And so really, as far as me distributing plants, because that's one of the goals of the project, is that I want to get the best plants here, and I need to buy more from nurseries in Mexico City and stuff like that, and get seeds. Mercado Libre has seeds. I don't know if Amazon Mexico has seeds, but seed purchasing is difficult because of international restrictions. And so you should follow whatever laws exist. Generally don't get into transporting seeds into another country unless you're prepared for what that means. I've done it, of course, with very simple plants. People give me plants on occasion. I have two plants I'll tell you about right now. One of them is sacred basil, which I have a huge bed of over there now. It's not really that huge, but it's like 1 meter by 2 meters. Wait, am I thinking of it? Yeah, no, it's over there. It's hard to remember everything. That's another thing, is I actually need project managers here to manage things. I need people who are invested into this place in some way or another, while absolutely focused on its immediate survival. That is what I'm focused on all the time, pretty much. And I do a little bit of things on the side when I can, but the truth is, I keep failing to, for example, I haven't contacted geek employers who might really like my resume. And I have a lot of time, and I have a kind of mind that is exactly designed for testing. Just the big stuff in my life has caused me to be very critical of systems and cultural elements and how they work out all over the world. I don't think anywhere is perfect. I'm not going to idealize any particular group, although, there's many of them I think are cool in whatever way. Like, I think Eskimos are, I guess, Inuit people. Use whatever term is correct, okay? I don't care about terms. I love the word Eskimo. Also, you know what an Eskimo kiss is? It's when you rub noses with the other person. I think it's cute. But anyway, the fact that they could live that way in that place in a stable way where, geez, I mean, I've built and slept in an igloo before on a mountaintop in a raging storm. Not quite at the top. And boy, that was a hell of a night. But having a whole lifestyle built like that, we have to think to ourselves, what are they doing? And what was great about it, and some of them live in mobile homes now, I guess. I don't know how that's working out up there. I know Canada has a lot of indigenous rights things, and of course, you can't fix the fucking wounds of the past. Those become scars for all of us all over the world. Every time we allow oppression to occur somewhere else, then we're complicit in that to the degree we have any control over anything related to it. That's why we shouldn't eat crap. That's why we shouldn't be obese, and that's not shaming at all. I think it's just a bad thing to do, and I understand totally. I do bad things that I should not do. Just a little bit, Not as much as I used to because there's not much opportunity to do productive bad things here. I guess I can just walk around freaking out trying to understand the world and my place in it. But I do need more support on Patreon if that's going to be a funding tool for me. The idea of writing up more projects is absolutely what I should do. And I think as I've already rambled about several of them in videos of their own. They're standalone videos. And I don't think I've uploaded all those, and I kind of got confused, especially when I was running out of hard disk space, and I've got the whole videos. I'm not sure exactly when they were filmed because my date time wasn't set or something. So it's going to be a mess trying to figure out what I've uploaded, and I should just start uploading as much as possible. If we're just talking to you, I think this is the best format. I do okay extemporaneously. That means I talk without a plan or a script. Now, it gets kind of the conversation branches off in really weird ways, especially since I'm not actually, there's no other person in the conversation. I'm having a conversation with me. I'm being you. So that's why I say stuff like, well, you might be thinking that. And it's because I want to address what may be interesting input and agree or disagree or play with the idea. I would love it if we could civilly do that for all aspects of how we're governed, how we raise children. Big one is food, and that's something you can change immediately. It will take a little while to change your diet, but if you do it the right way in pieces, it can be non-painful. And I have a lot of thoughts about how that all can work better in society in general. And that's one of the things I have to work on here is the food system. Because if you get a bunch of people, at minimum, you have to have a supply chain that takes advantage of buying in bulk, at minimum. Because nobody needs to have costals of beans of their own, unless, of course, they build, you could build a house here with a root cellar, hill from it. You could do it. And you could have it on a shaded north side of something, with a non-translucent roof over it. Architecture blows my mind. I got to figure out how to work with architects. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I think, I forgot, I haven't looked at the weather report, but there was a hurricane on the coast. That's why it got rainy. I think we're on the tail end of it. So I should be able to get out of town or into town this week. And that's good because I have one bag of dog food and then about 60% of another one. So I got to fix that right away. I can pay a guy to pick stuff up for me. And maybe I should do that, you know? I could even, I thought about this, because, most everybody I know is over in Yotatiro. And so my communication with them is actually still limited by my imperfect Spanish, I believe, and also because I haven't grown my vocabulary very much, because I always talk with the same things about, with people. I talk about plants and stuff and, what's going on around here and foresty things and just whatever. But I don't talk about them with them about things that are more complex, that are harder to break down into different conflicting sets of ideas and things, and to really try and dispassionately be able to think about things. I think some people feel very upset when that kind of thing occurs and when someone disagrees with them. And everybody all over the world disagrees with me, and it doesn't upset me because they have different thoughts than I do, and they're them and not me. So I wish people would be more empathetic and accepting of the fact that other people do actually have different goals and values, and that's okay. A lot of the oppression that we've seen that we're now removing through, civil rights or women's rights, actual ones, not bullshit ones. And I think we've made so much progress towards creating a society that has more liberty for everyone. The thing that's getting absolutely destroyed is the entire motherfucking environment. It's just getting ripped to heck right now. That's exactly what's happening. And we are doing it. I own a car. I don't travel. I have a very low footprint, and I'm not trying to get in your ass about it, but I believe we can actually have a more fulfilling life if we assemble a different culture that fosters that. What we've got right now is a lot of people very upset about the pandemic still, and believe me, around the world, that shit is not over. And I don't know exactly what the future is, but I did make a couple videos predicting it. So we'll see what happens. But and then there's just still also the existential angst of difficulty in the world. A lot of people don't have food security. They don't have a lot of ability to even have freedom of communications or speech. Certainly, I think I would rather live in a society where nobody gives a shit if somebody's gay, and I don't really care if they get married. They'll get divorced like everybody else. Great. So, I want to live in a society that's fairly liberal in that sense. Now, that word gets used in weird ways, but I don't know how to communicate any complex political ideas or social ideas without using words that sort of trigger people into a reaction. And I know that I've gotten way off track, especially when somebody responds trying to repeat back to me what I must be saying if I'm saying one thing, and that other thing is not something I'm saying. In other words, you can't force me into writing my script for me by filling in between the lines what you think is going on in here. I'm just trying my best to be, actually, I think, moderately eloquent and occasionally funny, and also I'm like the humblest guy you'll ever meet. I am in some ways, but all the dogs are laying around like really lazy. All right, so I don't know how long a live thing's supposed to go. We're now at 44 minutes and 11 seconds. I figure an hour is a long time to talk about anything, and I think I should have a notebook with some things I wanted to put in that video so I can lump ideas in a little bit more coherent way for you. But I think I like the feeling also of just bouncing ideas around. I mean, it's the connection between ideas that matter in most cases. It's how does this thing, whatever topic it is, or hypothesis or experiment, if that can show you how that thing is connected to other things, then you can tweak those systems. This is a very permaculture kind of idea. You know, the waste of one system feeds another part of the system. And any part of the system that is broken and we're not doing that is going to mess the planet up. And that's because, for example, the cost of industrial agriculture in the United States, dumping pesticides and nitrogen-rich fertilizers and things into a waterway, causing parts of the ocean, when that waterway, I think the Mississippi does this, there's probably other rivers too, but any river that goes into the ocean, we need to wonder, what the hell are we doing to that water? Those are really important spots. And we may want to siphon some off for different agricultural uses, but one wonders, I mean, what if the water never even reached the sea? The salmon would all be gone. You like salmon? I love salmon. I don't eat salmon because it doesn't grow around here. And one of the things I try to be is a localivore. Um, you know, people say eat locally. It sounds like a hippie thing. Like, what does it matter? Well, it's just a total waste of fuel, and it's a total waste of everything, including, especially, if you can be instead interacting economically with your friends and trading product um, over other forms of things. Uh, and, you know, I have a list of ideas of what I want to produce here in the Bosque. One of the things I want to promote, for example, this is a local program, a community program. I started it years and years and years ago when I first met a guy named Beto, and that is Chilino's brother. And I had a book. It was Carving an Old Man Face or something, and it's some guy who has a bunch of fairly thin carving face books or carving things books with really good step-by-step pictures. So this guy who does not speak English, and I don't feel like sitting there reading to him, can tell from the pictures, you know, the angle of the chisel. He's a smart guy. And he was able to do a really good version of this old man sculpture. That was one of the earliest art projects we did. And after that, he carved a bunch of stuff that looked like crap because he didn't have a book. But he got better at it, and now he can carve kind of cool looking masks. And I think one of the things I would love to fund him for is to be an artist in residence, except he's in residence in town over there. Be another project I got to write up, and this one's artistic. A lot of people are excited by art things. Some people are excited by agriculture, architecture, but art is made as a form of performance, really. Even the still art that I make is a performance from me to you, and something gets sculpted along the way and then has its own life when it's with you. Anyway, I have so much wood here. I have an oak tree laying over there that's already been not killed, surprisingly. They're really tough. We cut it down so I could get a new internet service. And then it could become mushroom food. But oak is a very hard wood to work with. But one of the things I want to do with him is I bought a carver that is an electric carver, and I want to give it to him or lend it to him. And I don't like lending things because then when they don't come back, I resent it. I think it would be a better thing as a gift. And he just got back from California. He goes up there and works for 8 months out of the year. Maybe I could tell him, you know, can I lend it to you? And, you know, for the 3 months or 4 months you're here, and then you give it back to me if nobody's using it, or that you teach somebody else here to carve, anybody, because you know he's okay. He's. And then you know what? Another thing I could do. This is actually another type of community program. Is I could ask the guys in Tokoro. Now, that's a whole other town over there. I don't have a lot of loyalty or anything to that town. I don't even remember what their plaza looks like. I remember the carvers on the side of the road, and there's a couple shops with a variety of types of products. All of them are great to support. You know, some of them cost more. Some of them have really amazingly more sophisticated sculptures. I don't know if it's made with rosewood or what, but what I need to do there is continue growing capulin, of course, which I've already done a whole bunch of stuff that's reproducing the best capulines. I did some grafting and stuff like that. Really exciting. And that's because that's probably the thickest wood that I can currently create here. The walnut trees, check back in 50 years. Oak, no one uses here. It's really weird. It does make good firewood, but in my opinion, that's a low use of the resource of firewood. And I think that the higher use of it would be furniture, because wood does make good furniture. And if you build the thing right, like we have some chairs over here that were built right here. There's a chair over there. If you can really see that. And they're built real strong. So everything we do here, that's the thing, is that's why I talk about it as cultural sculpture. You know, what the hell do I mean by that? I mean that all of our expectations for any interaction we have is defined. We start just break it all down. I mean, how else are we going to think about the world unless we have a philosophical foundation for it, and we know what ideas oppose each other, and which ideas we can hook up or use how. You know, relationship with dogs, that's a topic. And you probably hate him, love him, whatever. Should there be a dog park? I don't know. I don't necessarily want to promote disease movement among dogs either. I'm not sure how that works. But I know, I live in a forest, and there's a lot of predators out there. There's fleas, and there's like, I'm watching a puppy over there. She's real cute. She's learning how to dig. Good girl. Yeah, no, right there. You're good. Good girl. Do that. That was love. See, it's really hard to give positive feedback for an action. I think I might know how to do it. I have a clicker trainer. I should clicker train her. Her brain goes really fast. Her body's made of nothing, and I don't know how she survives. But even birds can do really smart things, and she's still a dog. Oh, she's digging harder now. The goal with her digging, by the way, the reason I want to promote that as an activity is because I want her to kill pocket gophers. And even if she isn't real good at it, if a different dog comes here and sees my dogs digging after pocket gophers, which only a small one could do, and this is the first small dog I've owned. But maybe one of my future dog purchases, and this be down the road because my pack is already 5 dogs. It's ridiculous. Or is it 4? Depends on how you count. Anyway, getting actual Jack Russell Terriers that were all trained not to yap. Ideally, she would have, this sounds horrible, but, dog training is a very complex topic. In fact, I don't even want to talk about it. People get all pissy about this sort of thing. My dogs grow up almost untrained, except that I'm here all the time. And the problem is that it's a big forest, and the dogs do visit neighbors down there sometimes. And each one has its own personality. I need to make a video just about the care and handling of every single dog here. And because when people do come here, they end up, having a favorite dog. The most popular dog died a number of years ago. He was so popular, but he just loved him for some reason. And he wasn't the brightest dog either. I think maybe he was non-threatening. He was kind of just like, not dumb. That's the wrong noise. That's not accurate. The only thing he didn't like was kids at all. He would snap at them, and that is a very, very bad behavior in a dog. Luckily, I haven't had a lot of kids here, and when they are here, I would control him in some cases. But I think, I can't have untrained dogs that don't work well with people here. Frida will be fine. She currently barks at strangers. She barked at 2 people who came here, and she hadn't barked at the guy before. And it took her a long time to relax, and not go into guard mode. It's like if I say it's okay, it should be considered okay. So she's not sufficiently socialized with other people. She's becoming a one-person dog, and that's a bad thing for a dog to be. So I could talk about dogs forever. I just love dogs. I think I like them more than most people. But the time has come definitely to partner with people and find those amazing people who are excited in some part of the project. What was I going to say about the art part? I should have artists in residence here of other types, definitely. And I think that people can run their own funding for it to support the project, and that makes it so that they can make a targeted effort to donate to them. And I don't know how to run those. I think we should get really good at running them, and that somebody should be in charge of that kind of fundraising. Because I can make supporting videos. I can write it up. I can write up with other people. I can float ideas out there into the cosmos of you folks, whoever's going to see this. Because really, when you talk about designing a culture, it's every detail of everything we do. We have to give up something called freedom, which is a very disturbing topic for me. I did make a video about this, so I'm not going to go on long about it, but the only way to have the goal be met here, the cultural goal of enhancing a forest as a result of human habitation or adjacent habitation, how can I have 20 people here and not have any litter on the ground? How can I have people who are here for part of the year? People who fill special roles, people who record their experience and they're already good at it. And that would amuse the heck out of donors. I think that's one of my number one things I can do. And that's why I was writing those YouTubers, because basically I need to look up travelers who are in Mexico and people who are just in Mexico because like they're from here or something. And I ideally want to focus on bilingual people. It's really important. And it's not a hard and fast rule, but I would love to have like 80% of the people involved with the project be bilingual, because I can't go around translating for everybody, and I hate doing that kind of stuff anyway. I don't even like translating signs in town for people. I'm busy. If you want to know the word, look it up, take a picture of it. Don't involve me as your Spanish teacher. That's a very clear thing. I've had to set such hardcore boundaries with people because they're all different. Even nice people create certain kind of problems, and they don't understand that they are. A lot of people I hosted were quite young. Hopefully, a certain kind of person gets more socially apt and aware over time. But I love young people also, and there's even that friend of mine was bouncing around the idea of bringing down a group of young people she knows. And the thing is that I can do that. I think they're actually probably like 18 to 22. I don't know how old they are, but if I just pick really responsible people and I have other responsible people near them, because like I even think when people come here that there should be a mentorship program. So you're assigned to an individual who is your question answer person. And that person's primary job is when you ask a question to send you a link to a thing where we've already written about that. We've already described it. We have videos about it and all the ways that affects everything else. Rain capture, fertilizer use, relations with neighbors, fences, invaders to the property like wildlife, which, I'm making it get, I'm increasing the wildlife here quite a bit. And I see evidence of that, and it's become more difficult to keep animals out of buildings, and so they're not built right. That's why I keep going off on the architecture stuff. What I was going to say earlier is that in a slope like this, what I want to do is be able to dig into the east-facing side so that I get maybe southeast, maybe direct to the southeast, because, well, there's an arch of the sun, and we want to maximize that morning sun. We want those places to be full of sun, and that's because we're trying to heat things up, right? That along with the stuff just coming in the windows or sun porches even, and we can really be outside among the trees, but be in a place that's really warm and comfy. And then these evacuated tube solar hot water heaters are downslope from that, feeding from that building, feeding into it all this probably liquid that is going through a system of thermal mass, and then we're warming up even more. Because the time to warm up your building is actually not evening. That's when it's the least cold. The time when we want to focus energy on heating the building up is that eastern light, and maybe, like I said, adjust a little bit more to the south. I'm not sure. It would be important to look at where the sun is coming up on the equinoxes, but this is a magic solution for having a constantly warm, super comfortable heating system in the building that uses absolutely no energy. I don't even want to use wood energy except in the most selected times of the year. I would select wood energy for campfires and include some of those as cooking on a campfire. Really be experts at it. And that's a fairly high educational value to provide. Everybody who comes here should make something. I don't care how simple it is. And they should cook something in a solar oven. Somehow. Maybe they just pick out the ingredients and then they watch the chef fill up the thing because he's good at it and won't drop it, and slips it into the thing and sprays the handle or whatever social distancing we're doing. And, a good solar cooker person could even be on just cooking with that method all day. Their goal is to do it as much as they can, and then anything else, if that system fails, because it was like not hot enough, we have two other options. One is we could, and this is breaking all my rules, right? Got to break my own rules. They're the smartest ones for me to break. But officially, there's several issues. Propane is a whole other conversation. But we could finish those. If they didn't cook well enough in the solar thing, then we can immediately be transferring those into a wood system. And those are really quick to light if we do them right. They can cook big pots of food. And so we may have to do a transfer. I don't know. But you can't use the container the food's in because they're really weirdly shaped, these evacuated tube solar hot water heaters. That's one of the reasons I'm interested in three other things, and that is a evacuated tube solar hot water system with the thermos on top and everything. Just buy it as it is. It's a buffer in there that keeps things fine. A super insulated tube that comes up to a big pot, okay? And the tube, you don't want to be that long, but the more you super insulate it, you could even run black bottles around it. I don't know, whatever, it doesn't matter. But the point is, I did see one picture online where they had that coiled. It looks like you put the pot in a thing of boiling water, and essentially it's like a double boiler, which is really cool, right? And so that's going to heat it up maximally fast. You have to stir it and stuff, and it depends on what you're cooking. But larger systems like that, imagine if one person was just cooking things in a solar kitchen all day, and they have timers, so they can track. And maybe we don't even use timers, but maybe we have a color-coded system where we can just flip things, and therefore we've got one less thing with a battery, one last fancy-ass sensor. Although, in this first kitchen, I want to actually have temperature thermometers measuring the water and how hot it is based on where in that bath it's set. If we're actually going to run this heat into the building, that's what I'm imagining with the new kitchen, the second floor kitchen, and all day long, it's just sucking all this heat up into this oven thing, or this skillet thing, or a baño Maria, they call them, which is, I guess, when you have a pot in water. So you're using water input and an output because it's going to cool on one side of that bath. I mean, I'm imagining 4 spots where the water's passing through, but I don't know. And ultimately, that's why I mentioned things like the smaller systems where that skillet maybe, or that pot, is right there at the top of it, and you might even move like mobile shade over into top of it, and then later figure out where does that shade exactly need to be, so that you can cook at various times of the day, and you're not in direct sunlight, and you're in a somewhat of an outdoorish kitchen, although I've kind of soured on outdoor kitchens. I essentially live in one. Like my sink is over there, and you have to fill up a pot. Why is that like that? Why? God damn it. Fuck. Anyway, outdoor kitchens kind of suck because in this case it has a dirt floor. You see how it has a dirt floor that dogs love. And they're out of the rain and dew, so it's a nice dry spot. And essentially they're getting dust baths all day, so that's not necessarily that bad. I'm growing trees all around this particular porch here. These are cedars. They've been topped, and so I'm encouraging the branches to even come under this roof, because they're not really that annoying of a plant. They don't drop a lot of garbage. And then this is an oak over here, black oak, that we chopped. So and it's still interfering with the roof up there. I don't know why that part isn't chopped. But the point is that is a really great shade creating thing. There's shade over there. I'm going to put more plants all in here. Can you even see that? It's hard to see stuff, I realize. Okay, let's walk over there. Now, this is an unusual case where this building has a very different function than a lot of them. And so what I'm doing around it is different. I actually want to move myself to another whole building, but I need to get internet down there, and I have to hook up a couple boxes that I don't know how to hook up. They're like fixed wireless from some company. All in here, I love talking about this stuff, and I like showing people around here. This is not a jungle. It's not a desert. I don't like when people say, how are you doing down in your jungle? It is jungly in some sense, but it's not a jungle environment. It is subtropical, is the actual name. And the better way to refer to climates is by their Koppen zoning system. Who's the other guy? Yeah, the Koppen one, Koppen, look that up, zoning. And it's all these climate zones around the world. And essentially what we need is, for every one of those, we need complex mapping within it to identify slope direction, watershed. I want to change how we use water totally. But anyway, we were on this, right? Most of these trees in here should get cut down. Real simple. They're just not where I want these trees at all. They're white oaks. They don't provide deep shade during the time of year when I want it. I've got a bamboo that lived that's over here, and that's great because we thought those were dead 3 years ago. I think we put them in 3 years ago, at least, and I think it was probably 3 years ago. Now, the black oaks that are in here, we're not going to cut. In fact, we want to collect their acorns and make a massive effort at growing black oaks anywhere we can around here. Because they grow so great, they're just a fantastic tree. They're not as exotic as the madrones. The madrones are just pretty. And I've said this a billion times, like, if a tree can be sexy, it would be madrone. Because it's all curvy and, you know, its flesh looks like skin, you know, and it's always peeling and doing dynamic, weird things. There's one right over there. And I've got so many kinds of them. I definitely got to get those out there more. And you can eat the fruit, too. Yeah, here's a small madrone with 3 trunks coming straight up out of it. And then somebody took and bent an oak over in that goes through it. That's going to look weird later. And I think we have to do as many cool experiments with trees as possible. Like this is another great project for somebody to actually work on here, is that a lot of things are happening with the forest, right in here especially, but elsewhere as well. And I want every single tree that's interesting in any way as a super cedar, a super, like, what do you call it, semilleros, ones that have a lot more seeds than normal. We like plants that can reproduce well, and all we have to do with that is collect pine cones from as many of the pines as we can, as many of the oaks as we can, as many of the capulines, I don't have enough nopales to give away yet. If I can get that lemon cedar to reproduce faster, that'd be great, because I'm planting cedar as hedges, essentially, and I believe that cedar should be controlled. It's not that great of a thing. It's neat. You can make poles with it. It's fine. But this place has just got to spew seeds out of here. Anyway, so that the idea would be to GPS map the entire property, walk everywhere, or request that a trail be built to that spot. Pretty much anywhere there is in the Bosque should have a trail to it, and that's because that's how you manage a forest. Trails can be made in ways that do not damage much. In fact, they just grow over if you forget about them. And they can, with some intelligence and, forethought, the trails can actually enhance people's individual experience here, because they also give you destinations. Maybe it's a place you camp, Maybe it's a place that is really interesting, like there's cool art there. I mean, back on the art thing, that's one of the things though, is I have to figure out how to have an art program here. One way that certainly is possible is to actually have artists make X number of works, you know, and the Bosque takes some of that. The Bosque should benefit from an artist being here, either because we can use our connections to sell that artist's work, and also, in fact, maybe we just really photograph it really well. And if they want to keep the original, they keep that, but we can sell prints. I love it. Everybody wins. The artist still gets their primary product. And they're among other artists. Now, that'll be an odd choice, visual artists. I think more performance. I think there's all kinds of things as you think about, and I've said this many times, and I really hesitate to say it this way, reality television shows. But I'm mostly referring to ones I like, not the shitty ones. I haven't even seen most of the shitty ones. But I have seen, like, for example, The Amazing Race is probably my number one favorite one. But instead of going to other countries, I want our activities to be built around sustainable environmental education. In other words, every time somebody uses a solar oven, and everybody should do it when they're here, they should, make a video of that, or we should make a video of them. Arrange whatever production is mostly correct. Also, we can watch those clips on if we organize them correctly into a big library. That'd be an amazingly hard job, but then we can use those clips with high quality, and we can show people doing various kinds of activities here. Now, seed, collection is, for example, what we were just talking about. That actually does take time. I'm going to take a quick break here. I'll be right back. And that's kind of, everything here takes a huge amount of work, right? So even something like seed collecting and storing and keeping them away from rodents, and then you have to germinate those seeds in a really efficient way in with the climate patterns. And so we want to have lots of test gardens for just seeds of trees. And we could do this down in the pretty garden because we want to improve places down there anyway, right? And these are places that are kind of in between other things. And we know that that other tree that's right there is going to grow up and fill the space. And so since we have water there, we could actually use that as an ideal place to have, little garden patches where we do dig it out, and then we mulch it heavily with the terra d'encino, and perhaps mixing in some very sterile dirt that was beneath the ground. In other words, we're trying to overtake the area from weeds, because we can't weed whack it once it's full of things we like. And then we have to weed it. So the more we prepare the bed better, the way I just mentioned, which is sterile dirt dug out of a side of a hill somewhere, and then lots of terra d'encino, and make these beds like be that deep. And I'm not thinking raised beds so much. I'm thinking dig down and capture that water, funnel that water into that little tiny garden right there, and have another one that the upside actually makes it drier. And I'm talking side by side right there. That is how we figure out how to actually succeed. We have to try. And we're not trying very hard, in my opinion. Everybody's got their way they germinate stuff, and tons of people want to sell you a lot of stuff to do it better. Buying a heating pad. Well, let's figure out that heat thing I was talking about. And you don't need a heating pad for germinating seeds. You can have some other system provide some warmth if you need to, or you can build greenhouses that are specific to just plant reproduction. But even that I'm suspicious of. I want to do it in beds. I want to do it at the right exact time, and I don't care if it's slower. That's really important. Totally important. Geez, I've had a lot of caffeine today. What am I on? Hour 14 minutes? Hour 15 minutes? Pretty close. Well, I can just ramble on like that forever, and I got a bunch of videos on the way. Um, I like to, I guess, I don't mind talking about the project this way because even though I have to make prepackaged groups of thought about a specific project or topic, uh, it's like I said, the connections between these that really matters. And I think that what may seem like a scrambled bunch of thought to you is actually not. It's me figuring out extremely complex systems and looking at all of life here. I still don't have owl boxes yet. That's another reason I need to do a big fundraising thing and get really hundreds of thousands of dollars and partner with people who, are nonprofits and stuff like that and get grants and really make this place as I envision it, which I can't do at this point. I'm just now I'm able to walk around. I feel like I've been liberated, but still walking to town puts me in pain later, and it's still not safe. It just isn't. This place was already hard to live alone at before, and it's hard with two people, and more people makes it harder and easier, both. But I have to make sure that all of the relationships with those people are net profitable for everyone involved, and that we're actually involving millions of people around the world who can take ideas that I have or that other people here playing in systems that I'm playing with can improve on those. Like I just talked about this way of germinating these seeds. Well, I don't know what the best way is, but I know that the least tech way is best. No shade cloth. I don't want shade cloth. I can just put things in places where a tree provides partial shade, and especially if I'm digging up these beds, right? I did this up by Boog once actually, and those did not go well. I wonder whatever happened with those. See, I could walk over there, and that would give me my exercise for the day. Maybe I should do that. I don't think I can do it live. That is one problem with this Facebook Live thing that I'm currently using to record this, is that I have to stay within Wi-Fi zone. I'm pretty sure. I could just walk off to end this video and go look for the place I'm talking about. I think, now that I think about exactly where that was, we may have squished that with a road, or it could be beside the road. But that's what I want to do more of, is digging down, which I realize is annoying. But unless we're going to make cob walls around a garden, I don't want to raise them. I don't want any wooden walls to the sides of raised bed gardens. If we're going to have raised bed gardens, let's make the adobe thicker, the cob thicker. It depends on if we're going to be watering something or not. It depends a lot, because those cob walls will be unstable if we water something heavily. So we would only do this for fairly dry plants, dry-loving plants, and we give them really good soil. So like this would be a good example for this would be magueys. A bunch of little magueys on a raised, double wall thing that goes along somewhere that divides one area from another. And they're using these cob pots as kind of longish pots. How thick should the walls be? Well, 20 centimeters would be the minimum probably. And that's a lot of mixing of cob. So we'd want to do that in places where we already know we want to block it off as much as possible. It's a visual and psychological barrier, and we'd have to pick exactly how high would keep out which dogs. Because dogs, if they're excited, can jump pretty high, some of them. There's so many places I got to build stuff. It's such a pleasure. I never whine about that part of this project, getting to play with plants and design gardens and make really slow decisions about what might work where. We just got this new cactus in. I did a video on that. I'll show it to you later. There's one over there. It's these long, kind of weird, are they triangular or something? They're kind of like a pitaya, but they're not. They're more bunched together, and they make these really impressive, visually impressive sculpture things, a plant. And so we tried those in a whole bunch of areas, including a place I really want them to work, which is the slope down to the east side of the lake. I believe that that's a very special space, and I want to plant the heck out of it. I want to put magueys down there, nopales, bamboo, the aloe succulents, and I wanted to fix a trail that goes along that slope because it's all view of the lake. It's all lake view. And I could then dig in places where people could sit, and it would be a private little spot, a little alcove to watch the lake. And that includes sunrise and sunset because the sun comes up over the lake and the late day sun brightens up the lake. And so there's a light show out there quite often for sunset. It isn't where the sun goes because there's a hill there. I'm working on that. But then that eastern light over the lake and the islands is fun to watch. And of course, both these environments need hot drinks and stuff. Once again, it's all about the food. I'm not going to talk about food in this video. I think I'm almost done. I have had a guy suggest that we should do a podcast, and I'm all for it. I mean, at least, try out doing that. And I could pick people or not. And it really, I can just mess around with the format in whatever obvious ways are easiest for me to do. Because that, being able to do it matters more than what I want. And it would also allow me to communicate with people who are not here and continue to play with ideas and spread them and try and think of, ethics of living with other people and what responsibility do we have socially to each other, or what responsibilities do we have that we wish to take on, whether we have to or not. Hi, honey. There's little Frida, your cute baby. Hi. What are you doing? Don't be shy. Shy dog. Because I can't get out of here. That'll be gone in a week or two. Also, going to town. It is the first, second, and I believe it's actually the third as well. And there's different groups of souls that you visit on different nights. Like there's the one for kids who die, which is especially tragic and horrible. I mean, if you're 90-something years old, you're going to die sometime. So, get yourself ready for that. But, who can prepare you for a kid dying? I'm really happy that modern medicine has actually improved childbirth in terms of keeping kids alive. And actually I have a program here in town for more natural kind of childbirth, including with water birth. And I don't know. I just know that it should be more people-centric and less medical. It's not a medical sickness to be pregnant. But of course, you should keep your eye on everything and know what you're doing and trained, like these people are trained. They're called midwives. Midwives. See, now I forgot the name in Spanish. Oh, dang it. I can usually only remember one or the other. I'm blocking out of my mind. Childbirth is just too scary. I'm glad there's people around here who are experts at it. I've actually met two couples who have come here, and we made videos of one of them. We made a video in English and one in Spanish about this couple coming to Aranga to have their kid, and I forget the other couple I met, but we talked to them at length. It's a nice, cute little video about, and I think people should do that also for citizenship reasons. I am in favor of the law that both Mexico and the U.S. has, that if a child is born upon their soil, that person has rights to Mexican citizenship. And I think that's an okay rule because anybody who does that is clearly investing a lot in their kid or something's happening. And I know immigration is always a controversial topic. I have plenty of thoughts about it. I'm an immigrant myself, Many of the groups I'm in, they say expat. I have thoughts about why people use one word or the other. I've always thought expat is somebody working somewhere who's working for a company because I ran into people who were expats of that type. Now, most of I don't really care what people call themselves, but I call myself an immigrant because I emigrated from one place and immigrated to another, and I have to have documents that show I have residency here. So that's the kind of thing that happens to immigrants. And now I still have the plan to become a citizen. I would feel more comfortable with that. I have not been to the United States for probably at least 12 years. People ask me that occasionally. And it's because the whole point of me building this place was actually to invite my friends down and get them to come here. The pandemic has interrupted that. I never made a good invite to my friends anyway. I made shitty invites, and for the first 3 years, I didn't have enough infrastructure really to keep them even comfortable in any way. And even now, I'm trying to get more housing in town, which is a short walk away. If I can get more rental housing there available for people who are staying here and participating in this place, that would be pretty cool. Um, a lot of people just need a warmer spot to sleep than I can provide. Um, I could try and get an RV park over there and, have it be for like mostly small RVs. There's so many options here for ways I can partner with people that would actually function. I hope in this video I've mentioned a whole bunch of them. Of course, those need to become a list. Just like there needs to be a project list, there needs to be a list of the various roles that you can come here as and what the attributes of that role are, what the expectations are. And I just know this, I can't keep funding it. I'm dead. I'm yeah, I mean, check Patreon out. I think it's at a little over $200. Uh, that does not pay for much. I have various projects with people here that I provide tools and funding for. And some of it's not that exciting, I guess, like the plant stuff that I get so excited about. For most people, they would not be very excited by that. If they had control over this forest, they would want to put up psychedelic rave art and have electronica and have workshops on things whose primary distinguishing attribute is that they're made up shit. In other words, they're partiers, and I'm not into it. That does not mean parties can't occur, but I tell you, like, I want to be a deeper place than a party, and I've done a really good job at avoiding having this place become a party, which I'm very happy about. Uh, I did have a really fun New Year's Eve party, and that was just pure party for the people who were already here. It was a really nice group of visitors, mostly volunteers. And New Year's is, of course, a time to people to feel all together, and they had known each other for, over a week or sometimes longer. And so we did a, thing with music and stuff like that. We did that inside the lodge because it was a pretty small group, really. And that was fun. And we could have had components of that outside as well. But I really want to watch out for it. It I think will turn off potential donors if we have too much fun. I think we should have lots of fun, but it's got to be deep fun that's powerful for the world. We can talk again about art for a second. I'm just all over the place, but good luck. And that is, what art materials do I have a near infinite amount of that we can make things out of? Well, I'll tell you exactly what they are. Here we go. Write this down or something. Wood grows like crazy. It's everywhere. Occasionally isn't where we want it. And we've got a variety of kinds that could serve in different ways. I mentioned furniture as a possible use. There's multiple guys in town who make things out of furniture. If I could get them to be making furniture with wood that I already have, or get my friends in Yotatiro, some of whom know how to make stuff already, then I can actually create industries by channeling donations into places for people to sit their ass down when they're here. Because I have cabanas that there's no furniture in. That doesn't work. People need a desk. They need a light system that works a little bit bigger than what they can easily provide for themselves. And I don't know how that all works out. Every spot's its own thing. But basically, the place is an unfinished project at this point. And so, yeah, infrastructure stuff. I was talking about art stuff. So, materials I've got. Yeah, I am scattered. I'm heavily caffeinated. I was thinking about making another pot of coffee, too. I don't think I should do that. Maybe I'll make a pot of Jamaica tea. That's a better nighttime solution. Anyway, wood used correctly. Stone is a little difficult here. I do have rocks. I do have rocks in different places. It's oddly enough not as many as I'd like, and some places with rocks I want to alter. We were actually attempting to carve stone up here on a hillside that now you can't get to it very well because the trail to it grew over. Just needs to be maintained and used. That's one problem, is any trail that isn't used doesn't be maintained. one way to fix that is to just make them better in the first place. Even like I said, even using a small bulldozer to just make a road where I think I want one, and break in some of the normal rules of contour, since a lot of contour spots I've got have already got a road almost to there. It's really smart design. So rocks are tough. I think with rocks, like there's places where we could dig out large rocks, like up by the bananas up there. There's these medicinal bananas, musansete, and there were some really big rocks there. I think in that case, what I want to do, this would be really fun, okay, is look at the rocks really carefully and then dig around them and find out where are the limits of the rocks. Basically, we have another rocky ridge over there that doesn't have as much life on it. And so it's not like the rocky ridge down between here and the lodge. That one is covered in like special ferns, and it's a whole microclimate right over there. And it's really cool. So we might, plant in there a little bit. We used to have a trail that went through it. It's a trail that it has a higher skill level for use. You might have to use your hands a little bit and kind of climb a little bit. So probably not even a good trail. Like it should be rerouted and stuff like that. But anyway, this particular spot is an area that doesn't have any special plants. In fact, it has some of the just pioneer species junk growing there. It was pines before. There was a forest fire. Some things died. Most things lived. And those ones would be really fun to get big poles, because I know some real strong guys, and they're innovative and they're smart, especially when doing things with shitty tools. Because normally if I wanted to move like a rock that's this big, then it'd be cool to just have like a crane that would pick it up and move it. But that's not how stuff is often done here. And ancient people moved big rocks around. And so I think, I can look at YouTube videos on people moving rocks in different ways, but, using poles, and if we have to, building wood ramps, even to pull a rock up onto another rock and start making big rock stacks. Don't make anything dangerous. But rock is a great material. And that could then get painted also. I generally am questioning of paint because it's also often has toxic things in it. And that's kind of the opposite of what I want to do here. So I have this really big confusion between wanting to paint stuff, and I don't care if I paint little pictures and stuff, but, should I paint some of these buildings? It would preserve the wood. And no, I don't think I should. Even with concrete, paint's kind of gunky. I'd rather use dye for the concrete. That's more expensive, but whatever. And then another material we have here is, let's continue on rock a little bit. There's smaller rocks, and we can use those to build things. So we should always be collecting rocks into almost a rock yard. Or we could just stick them in the desert. And if I got two full truckloads of sand, perhaps one of one color and one of another, red and black, or red and gray kind of, but red and black, and then dump those near each other where the desert's going to be, exactly where it is. Get it dumped exactly on top in different parts of it, and then take and shoot spokes of that sand out in a way that you can actually walk up and over tiny slopes of deserty habitat. And then put in there some soil, again, sterile soil. We don't want to plant it with weeds. It's going to get planted with weeds later anyway. But luckily, it's such an extremely different environment that the goal is that this desert thing, this project, fairly easy to do. I mean, it's some sweat, but we've already reproduced a bunch of really cool trees and succulents, and we've seen how those can reproduce from the seed if they're in the right location. In this location, we have a shape of paths, not as complex as a labyrinth. I want to build a labyrinth too. Although it's possible, I have considered, like mounds of sand between other things in this big, huge, sandy labyrinth. It sounds like a lot of work, but it could be like a really cool spot. Well, we'll see. It's all about microclimates at that point. So I really hope that some of the people listening to this do actually care about the agricultural end, because that's another case where, why do I want a desert? Well, I want a desert so I can host more unusual species here, many of which are endangered. We currently grow a barrel cactus that is endangered. And I'm the only person I know growing that particular one. There is another guy in Aronga who does really well with cactus, and I should actually make it a point to give him seeds. In fact, I should invite him up. Him and his wife are both real nice. They've always been nice to me. That'd be really fun, actually. And people are getting all vaccinated now. I'm still not, but that's another thing is I don't even check whether the shot's available in town since I can't drive to town currently. And I used to walk into town, but that is beyond me right now. The other day I walked around Yotatiro for quite a bit and chatted with some shopkeepers and stuff and walked over there and did that and walked over there and did that. And that wasn't even very far. And I was really sore the next day, which was today. When did I walk into? No, I walked into town like Thursday or something. I can't remember. I got to keep a calendar of what I'm doing. Anyway, anything else that we should talk about? Oh, one topic was the people who want to make a podcast. You're welcome to comment and make a link to a person, or if they have a unique name, or I just need to find them, to people that you think would be good invites for here, who you think I should make a podcast with. Basically, people who are thought leaders or particularly are creative. I've thought about inviting comedians here, and that they don't actually perform here. They can if they want, and I can have cameras set up and lighting and all that. And yeah, that's no problem. And so I should make it really easy for them to automatically load up to a location whatever videos they want. And of course, hopefully they have their own, but I want in many cases to also be able to upload those same ones, although I guess it really doesn't matter whose account it's on. But comedians crack me up because I'm very into the spoken word, and I love the twisting of all ideas around, and that's exactly what comedians do. Of course, they say things that are completely untrue all the time, but that's the whole point. It's exaggeration, it's irony, it's sometimes is metaphor, and of course, there's similes. But I think it changes the way we view things socially. Why are there fucking scissors right here? I will tell you some other budget areas that I haven't thought of. I guess I need to make a budget and write up what business plans I think should be created for here and keep some of those private. For every product that comes in or out, every kind of person comes in or out, cataloging their interests and what they can offer, so that they have a maximally wonderful time here. I've done that pretty well in the past. I think what I have to do is make videos like this one, but not a big, long, rambly one, on specifically the topics of what aspects of being here you should be highly aware of. Things like having equipment you need, or seeing if there's an organization that you are related to that could sponsor you, or a million other things. Basically, and I guess I just need to, in fact, I should have a Google form for designing your Bosque experience and have more than one, depending on the attributes of the person, and I can have kind of the social agreement for that kind of person. Like just right now, it's going to be Day of the Dead, and I got like over 20 requests from different places. Facebook, couch surfing was big, Workaway was big, and somebody can't just come and volunteer for 2 nights, which happen to be the same nights that Day of the Dead is, and all they want in a place is to leave their stuff at a place and then have a place to crash, and then I have to babysit them in some way, and they may affect my reputation. I don't know them, and they're offering nothing to the project I love and adore, and they're not even offering much to the communities that I love and adore, because most of them, the ones that contact me are cheap-ass travelers who want to spend as little as possible, and I am offended by that, coming from people who are so critical of the wealthy, but they are in fact the wealthy people who are not giving back as much to a community as that community is giving to them. Day of the Dead, I never did finish my thoughts on that, is a great example of better cultural design. First of all, I've never spoken with a Mexican who thinks that it's bad for other people to practice Day of the Dead things. In other words, they're not uptight about it. There's no question about cultural appropriation in the forms of that I've seen and in the way I've dealt with Day of the Dead here. Uh, but I'm not going to host a bunch of people here for free. Figure your stuff out. Lots of people make their reservations a year in advance, you know, and I think that'd be something I could actually consider is for people who love this project. Maybe for Day of the Dead, we should try and book out hotels in Aronga. You know, people should try and predict with what they want, and I should be able to offer that experience to travelers, but have it be done in a deeper way. And I've done another video about that, how to have, for example, people set up their own altar, and that altar has on it pictures of your relatives that you remember. And there could be a lot of pictures, or it could just be your grandma. Doesn't matter. But that's a beautiful way, whether you're here or not, actually, to borrow those themes and adjust it to how, in a way that serves you. And I like to keep that separate from Halloween. There is actually some cultural crossover from indigenous things to things like, you know, All Saints Day, to various pagan rituals, really old traditions from Europe. And some of those came in via Spain, right? And some of those things came into the United States from Ireland, for example. And so there's all these pagan traditions. I mean, what's Easter about? Easter Bunny? Christ's birthday is about Santa Claus. You know, for any holiday, there's been multiple holidays dumped on top of it. That's why, like here in the winter, I celebrate what's called Bosque. I don't celebrate just Christmas. I celebrate Saturnalia, Kwanzaa. I haven't actually done that yet. I got to figure out what to do on Kwanzaa. Bosque is a reference to Festivus, which is a game on the Seinfeld show that the family of Kramer would play. I believe it is. No, the family of Elaine. Oh, Costanza's parents on the show. There was a real funny actor, and the actress was good too. But yeah, in Festivus you have like the pole of something instead of a tree. Obviously, I need a pole dancing thing anyway. That should be good for exercise and would be fun. And I think I should put that pole. I almost think it should be outside. I think somehow building a base that is a good surface for dancing on, which might mean a concrete base with something laid on top of it that then is taken away and put out there, although I really like to have things set up all the time. Could also be a cob base, but you know, that's dusty. I don't like it. And I could look up ideas online so we could see. Obviously, under a roof would allow us more lighting control if we were going to ever record off that. And ultimately, I mean, I know somebody up in Seattle, a kind of friend of mine, and she has a pole dancing studio. I wonder, you know, I could ask her, like, how many poles would I need for a class and how far apart should they be? Because I think it's a relatively not very dangerous type of visually interesting, cool stuff. Like, even though I have a different friend who does aerial work, she has an aerial school where you go up on the various ropes and tellas, fabric and stuff like that. I don't like that because I've had people come here and do it in what I believed, especially evaluating in retrospect, was a not safe enough location. That is my belief, and I don't like it when people come here and do unsafe things because that puts me more at risk even than it does them. There's a lot more at stake with this project and this place. And I have a lot of people who, actually I have some people who donate to me not on Patreon, and that's totally appreciated. I should just give those people Patreon accounts. That's a great idea, actually. Anybody who's donating on PayPal or something, or Venmo or whatever. Because I care a lot about reputation locally around, you know, my effect on the communities here. And I care increasingly about myself and my own happiness here, because I'm not real happy living here the way I am. I'm just not. I'm getting no anything good that makes me look forward to my future. you know, and it's a fairly annoying environment to exist in, especially. That's why I'm standing up right now. That's why the camera's a weird angle. See, I've got my really dirty pajamas on and my cool soft star shoes, and I still have my Quora shirt on, which is gonna get old someday if I keep wearing it. I like that shirt, especially since I like the price. Only cost me, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of writing things on a site that then wants to benefit from my writing when my goal was to give it away for free. How they handle their walled garden and the money issues really matters to me. And I'm very tempted to monetize just like they are because I need the money more. I need the money bad. But they're not going to give me very much, I don't think. I'm not that popular or well known. I stopped writing in my blog on there, my Quora Space, which I think is a weird thing to call it. And a lot of people are now monetizing it. I would actually like to request a Quora feature because I've sent a lot of people to Quora and then they check it out and they're like, I don't like it. Maybe I need to have some videos where I use Quora and show them how to use it really well. That might be actually useful. Maybe they need some video tutorials. I think there used to be some for onboarding or whatever. But that's the place I write the most and my highest quality stuff. And I should be improving those answers. And I should be crazily writing more. One thing that's affected it is the lack of electrical power at night because I need to replace my batteries and probably even get a couple more panels would be good. And maybe set up a backup system that's only handling internet because we just can't go offline. I can have other things to power things. My laptop, its battery's totally dead, but it died quick too after I bought it. I'm very annoyed with that. But so I can't survive at night. I can't do anything. I can do things on my phone a little bit, but I'm just so cut off from being able to do anything. And then some people want to send me stuff, and I've had real trouble getting it. And so there's tools that I could, would benefit the project. And like hard disk, I can't get a hard disk cheap enough. The price the guy's locally wants to charge me, and I asked him about it probably a week ago, or I don't know how long it's been. And no, I didn't. It was like a long time ago. But we're now in contact on Facebook, which helps a lot. People are finally getting online, which helps me immensely. But the price was way too high, and I don't know how much he was paying for it, but if he got it at like this kind of technological mall in Morelia, he was probably paying a big price hike, and then I'm, in contrast, also paying a big price hike. I don't know how much those things cost at Home Depot, or not Home Depot, Office Depot, because there is Office Depot in Morelia. In fact, I think there's two of them, and so that's a place I could try and get a hard drive, or try and even like with local expats, I know that they drive in quite a bit, and if I communicate with them exactly what kind of hard drive I want, what kind of price I'm willing to pay, and I'm available by phone, then I might be able to get some shopping done for some really basic things. I mean, for example, that's my chair over there, right there, and a dog that was mad at me ripped the heck out of it, and I haven't seen it again since. So it knows it's guilty. I have not seen that dog since, and I have yelled at it a couple times. I threw a sticks at it twice and hit it once. I feel terrible doing that, but I have to control my space. And so, all of our interactions with the dogs matters so much. One thing I do have to figure out, this is going to be a long video, isn't it, is it's still COVID stuff going on, and I have really strong thoughts about that. I believe that I have a big space here, and then I can actually swing it, I think, to have different areas, have different kinds of people who have different views about how socially distant they want to be or how they don't want to be. And I can experiment with developing different spaces with their own kitchens, even though usually centralizing a food system is more efficient. But what we have to do is figure out which things to centralize and not centralize and how, and have because food's going to be one of our biggest violations of social distancing. And it's really easy when people are, eating near each other to then start to make disease risk occur. And I don't even care if it's the flu. I don't want to get the flu either. I haven't been sick for a very, very long time. The last vaccination I got was in 2000. 6 maybe, and it was for lockjaw. Forgot what that one's called. Anyway, I never get the flu shots, and I figure I'll just get the flu sometime, and I would rather not. But I suppose the longer I go, I'm getting less vaccinated against the flu, right? I'm not keeping up to date on the mutations. So that is a little weird. But I have to figure that out. And the thing is, I kind of almost have to make a Venn diagram of which people are in which status. Like if you have a test that shows that you have antibodies, and that test is from before, then you're not sick right now. You were sick before. It's as if you were vaccinated, probably perhaps better than a vaccination, depending on what variants are going on. And your risk to us here, I mean, being here, is much less because if you get sick, you won't get as sick, is the theory. But the hospitals are full over in Pottsboro. It's still big problems around here. And so that's one thing that's caused me to not actively start hosting again. Also, I'm not physically very capable at doing it. I need people to up their physical game, be really in tune with each other. I have more people who are here longer as a core team. I mean, I'm open to core team people. Right now, I say no to people who want to be here a short time, partly because I just don't have the energy or infrastructure or social team here to provide for them a really interesting and awesome experience. In other words, I can't do it. And I know what my limitations are right now, and some of them are mental, you know. So I have to figure out then how to host the right people in the right way, and I guess have it be socially distanced, because I know that I don't want people near me, you know. So the groups of people you've got are the ones who have the antibodies, and really that's enough. I mean, either that or they can provide proof of vaccination, or they can go and remain in groups of whatever size they wish. And I can build camping spots, and I can build more structures if, you know, I have any funding at all. And they can be in groups that are socially distanced to whatever people they want to be, and not the ones that they don't need to be. And that could mean that there's a group of 4. It could be a family of 4, and they decide we are socially distanced. It could be that there's another camp of 20 to 30 people who have never had it, and they're probably going to get it. Now, that is actually the group that bothers me the most, because I might have to get stuck babysitting them. And I do not have good access to medical facilities here. This is a hard place to survive, even if you're healthy. So I just, you know, I know that a lot of people don't want to get vaccinated. That's fine. Just wait till you get COVID, because you're going to get it. It's going to keep bouncing around among people for a while. And if you go anywhere risky, then, you know, you may already have it. And that's why you should keep your test. If you get a test, they swab your nose and it shows you have antibodies. Because then you're just, the older that is, the more I trust you. And the more I would get closer to you, even. I'm willing to get slightly closer to vaccinated people, but not if they're visiting for a short time, like a day. Because I don't have any knowledge that they didn't just get COVID again yesterday. In other words, they could be a carrier and they don't know it, like an infectious carrier. Now, that's probably unlikely, you know, but I take this thing real seriously, and I know that I'm pissing some people off with anything I say about it, but I'm trying for this more nuanced, you know, options, this menu of options we have, where with so much space, this awesome luxury I have, I mean, I could even build chairs and spots that have a glass thing between them under a little roof. And it's a place where you talk to someone almost like you would in a prison, and maybe different camps, right? Like Bliss Complex is its own one, Cosmic Truth, The View is a camp. Maybe I could even put near some of these camps a glass partition with maybe even some sides on it, where you sit almost like in a thing where you would talk to someone else in a prison. And you either have to yell at each other through glass. It would be funny to have a phone just like in prison, as a joke mostly. I don't know. We don't have to worry about somebody smuggling in a shiv. So the requirements are not the same on those two types of things. But a comfortable spot where perhaps even 4 people could sit and chat would be just beautiful. I could get those metal outdoor chairs, and then all I have to do is build a thing in the middle on pillars that has a plexiglass, probably plexiglass. It's not as good as glass, but I don't want glass to break. Whatever kind of glass is best, so that people can have a pretty nice wide view of the other people, and it's well lit, and they can have really deeper conversations with them, but without any disease risk transfer between the two groups. And that's why it's at a particular group's thing, because one side of it is for people who are staying in that camp, and these others are for the visitors. Basically setting up visitor centers for groups. Now, does that just sound way outlandish? Well, I have two thoughts on that. One is I believe that you can get it again, and that's already been seen. And that's not surprising. And that means people are going to keep having to get boosters. They're already talking about that. Or they'll just keep getting it enough, and some people will die, and that'll remove them from the population. Obesity, I guess, is one of the primary comorbidities. It's a word I didn't know before, comorbidity. It's a thing that correlates with you dying of COVID, is if you're overweight. And one thing I do want to do here is teach people how to eat better, eat more local, eat healthier, and move their body, you know. The number one thing, though, is don't put garbage in your body. I do it all the time, but I shouldn't. And then get out and move. Anything movement-based, I think I should focus on. I do want to, for example, make a low ropes course here, but unfortunately, I want to make one that nobody ever gets hurt at. That's almost contrary to the concept, but, you know, at least a low balance beam or things like that. I suppose we could build them out of wood. Concrete things are a little rough sometimes. I don't like falling on concrete. I bang my head on it sometimes. Ouch. Oh, and concrete broke my legs. They were probably already broken before that. But, damn, what a beautiful project. I hope when I have these rambling things like this that it really does get your brain going, and that you join me here for as much as you can see and understand this space, and then to wonder what of those things you can apply in your own life. Like reproducing trees. You can do it in your own life in a way that's smart. Don't bother growing an avocado tree out of seed in Western Washington. Unless, you know, maybe in Squim, it can do better because it's in a rain shadow or something. But there's so many things I do here that you can also do in other places, plant reproduction being one. And then really the harder part is the social part, and I've mentioned this many times, how you treat your friends and what your relationship with your family is. Like I talked with a guy, there's a few of them out there, and I'm pretty vocal about my opinions about how religion works and how it could even serve us better. So I'm almost pro-religion, but I want a totally different one. And it could be inclusive of many faith, culture, tradition things. I see no reason not to, if no one's going to get pissy about it, not to celebrate all the best holidays in the world. Holi looks fun, Holi, from India, where you throw dye at everybody. Now, you'd want to get vegetable dye, and you need to look in the chemical issues, and we could make our own. I've seen people here dye sawdust, and I don't know if that's a good thing to throw at each other, but it would leave the ground looking really pretty, and it's pretty easy to make. They sell it, you know, vegetable dye. Yeah, it's one thing I've thought quite a bit about is holidays. My belief is, I once went to a party. It was run by some really cool people. I won't say their names for privacy reasons in case they care about that, but it was the All Holidays party, and they had multiple floors of a building. I think it was down near Pioneer Square or the Kingdome or somewhere. And the All Holidays party, you come with as many costumes as you can to be part of that holiday. And then they bring in things related to that. It could be food. It could be dance around a pole for Beltane or something. I think they did that. And the idea was to do as many as possible. And I sort of love that idea. I brought different costumes, and I switched into them for different reasons. You know, like 4th of July was one of them. And I happened to, you know, just need to buy a shitty hat to be, you know, finishing my costume. It would be fun to encourage people. This is a great idea. This is kind of minor stuff I think of. I encourage costumes currently. Like, it would be great to have an extraterrestrial camp. You know, or it would be great to have a Halloween party. We're talking about Halloween right now. It's uh, there's October 31st, 2021. Jesus, I got shit I got to do. Can't stand around talking on the phone all day, but we're at 2 hours now. Anyway, I think that it could be that I should actually encourage specific kinds of costumes for different, like running all the holidays every month out of every year. You know, have a caveman day once every month, and people dress up in caveman outfits. We can make them out of rabbit. Um, and there's a whole bunch of other things. I actually have a list of a whole bunch of special days, is what I call them, because they're all over the map. There's things that are a remembrance for something that occurred in some historical time. There's things celebrating a particular culture, a particular food, uh, uh, various foods. There's times when there's times you would parade around. I don't know that I'd have enough people for a good parade, and I don't think this is a great time to be gathering for parades at the moment. Damn, it's a tough project. I could try and recruit some people who are involved with Burning Man and stuff like that. I'd have to be real careful about that because I think that there are people who get a Burning Man and who seek out a Burning Man that is different than the one that some other people do. In other words, people have very different views of how to use Burning Man as an event, what it is for, and how they can interact in a way that I would want them to interact as if they were here. So, like the number one thing, as far as most burners don't even care about the 10 principles. I can guarantee it. I see their stuff they post online, and I don't know statistically. I'm not in the. I guess there was some, census that they do sometimes. I'd love to see those. Those are great, but they're not necessarily very accurate because the kind of people who answer a census is different. A lot of things are different, but there's so many things I do like about Burning Man that I do want to borrow some of their principles. The primary one of them being participation, and that is that each person in their own way that they think works best for them can come here as a person who is already attached to a project or is doing their own individual things or a combination of a bunch. Because I'm always here, and this is not an empty desert, the work that we can do to build something can last for longer. So if we build a good sauna and we heat it the right way so it's always available and it dries itself out so it keeps itself clean, and maybe I make micro saunas we can spray down, or I could see about how we would run a ferro cement sauna, because I want things that you don't have to put them all up. Like some people take saplings and they curve them around and they make things like that, and then they put hides over them or tarps, more commonly tarps, and then they heat them up with rocks that they brought in. I don't like the tarp idea because I want to leave it up all the time. I want people to continually be able to use a sauna, and I should probably have a wet sauna and a dry sauna. People are used to that. Those could be fashioned in different manners. One of them could be a commercial product, that maybe they sell you the designs and a few key pieces, and it could actually run on solar power. Photovoltaic. And all it does is transfer into two heaters in it. From a certain size solar panel, it transfers in enough to keep those both going. Why two? Could even be three. But because we could use a diversion load, really, so that, there's no batteries in this case. It's just heating. It's all the electricity for all day is going into heating, which is different than those evacuated solar hot water tubes that I'm such a fan of. This gets back into building placement and placing buildings in places where you can heat up parts of them. So even something like a sauna could be inside of the building's envelope, and then we do still have a thermometer on it measuring the temperature inside the sauna, and maybe even two of those, so that an alarm goes off if it gets too far out of whack, and have it be really easy to check on them. We could have double pane windows on pieces of it, so that, I don't know. And we can design with views. I love the idea of the eastern view and that room filling up, and that is such a place that you're trying to make so hot just the hottest place, and then out from that radiates other places that benefit from that heat. You can let in the night air and heat it up quicker if you wanted to, and that would dry the place out. You can control humidity this way. So I still don't know if I like the idea of photovoltaic. I know that the prices are getting way lower. I know that I need it for communications and charging batteries. I still hesitate, and I've said this many times, is I don't want to use electricity for heating or cooling. And I think I still believe that. One question is how big of a solar panel would charge, let's say, 3 small heaters and then turn off when it got to a certain heat. Maybe even start rerouting that water to another location, turn a valve in it. Now that's getting pretty complex. Not a big fan, but there's multiple ways where I can harvest hot water off of a hot water heater. And really, I think that those hot water heaters should usually have a spigot on them so that you can dump hot water right out of it into some, insulated bucket, perhaps even a double bucket of 5-gallon things stuck together, although I don't like the plastic aspect of that. But moving into a pot of food, and now you've got preheated water to use somewhere else, where maybe you were going to cook on fire, but it's easier to take, already hot water in your cart. If I have good roads around here for carts, which I do not have. But I want cart culture here to be just going ape shit, where everything is set up to be moved with human-powered equipment. Everybody else is going electric. I want to go mechanical. But, with things like bicycle tires on them and lightweight and roads that can handle it, cart culture. They have carts you can borrow at Oregon Country Fair for your stand, for your stall. And I could have something akin to that here, especially if people are not parked right next to a spot where they were kind of camping heavily. That's one thing I do like about burners is a lot of them build really great infrastructure. They're used to doing it. My problem is that a lot of that infrastructure would be difficult to get across the border, and it'd be heavier. And so really, I need to build, this is another cost, but I should dump, $10,000 on some kind of movable structures that I can move to a new area and start a neighborhood there and fit whatever the group needs are into that and have them have their own fire pit. What's the biggest group I would want to accept? Well, without a core team, it is probably 0. I said no to single people who wanted to come here, but then again, the last person that was actually planning to come here, made an application, and was going to pay anything was back in 2019 in the spring. I think that's what it was. It was in the very beginning of the pandemic. And they were great. I liked them a lot. They were very active. I didn't need to manage them. They were the kind of people who, like this guy made some music videos. He made some videos with his girlfriend dancing around the forest. I actually have some more clips of that I should assemble in some way. I kind of wish there was a video mixer I could just feed the clips into, and it would automatically find any visual similarities or just mash them into a bunch of clips in some way and have them fading in and out and then put music over it. In other words, we made a video, and I had to drag shit around a lot and work on timing, and it was difficult. We were trying to edit by committee, which is not comfortable. That's another reason for me to invite people here who can do their own videos completely. But anyway, they were great, and they stayed months and months, and then they went off. And they still had a little bit of fun here because the pandemic wasn't taking things over. We were still going out on occasion very carefully to get supplies and things like that. So I need more people like that somehow finance themselves or improve in whatever way, how I can do it or whatever. So other times of the year, I just talked about winter a little bit. I haven't always thought of it as the best time to come here just because of cold at night, but I think as long as you can take care of that and you're well prepared for long nights with your rechargeable lights and things, then I think you could be totally comfy. Sleeping bag is not out of order. One of my costs for me is to wash people's blankets and sheets and things, And especially now with the pandemic, I would tend to want to do that more. I think that a better way is if, like, I install a group in a place that they're actually staying longer term. This is one of the reasons I want to really focus on longer term people who can play more responsible, in depth roles here. Oh, the sun is almost peeking out over there. It has been cloudy all day. And as usual, I'm, well, not as disgusting as sometimes, but I haven't had a shower in a while. Actually, it wasn't that bad. I think I'm on coming up on probably 2 weeks, but they're so tiring to take. They're just exhausting because I can't see and I get soap, and it's slippery, and so that's why I'm working my ass out, my ass off here to stretch out and stuff. Like I've been standing up this whole time. This will actually tire me out, and I'm trying to bend my legs in more ways. Uh, my whatever tendon that's behind my calf needs to be stretched out a lot. I remember I stretched it out when I used to run cross country. That's the funny thing about this whole accident is that I've occasionally said that my legs are the best part of my body, and that's partly because I love to walk around so much and see stuff. It's my preferred method of transport. I don't even like bicycling very much. That's a good question for here. Although I was talking about art before. I would welcome bicycles here, and I will have bicycle racks made in order to support bicycling in this location. I don't want to support any kind of crazy mountain biking that is difficult, and that is because we had one of our worst injuries here as a result of that, and people not having protective gear. And I'm far from, it was a terrible thing. The lady got her knee gashed really bad, and we took care of her, and it was all right. But uh, that was right after we filmed a video about how safe mountain biking is, and they're experts on it. And then they got injured, or she got injured, and that scares the hell out of me. I just can't have that kind of thing going on. And so I want to see bikes here as a method of transportation, and we could even look at carts that could be hauled by a bicycle. Where you lock it, you bolt it into the cart, and I think that would be a great thing to figure out. And I guess you'd still have a back wheel. It's a little longer, but people can make stuff out of metal here really well. We could even have like MDF in the sides that wasn't very big, thick, heavy. I don't know if MDF is the right choice or plywood, but somehow bolt sides in so that you can, for example, collect a whole bunch of Tierra de Encino in one place. And this replaces, right now we use the van for this occasionally, or a pickup truck. Pickup trucks also work. Okay, so back on art supplies. Wow, this is so scattered. Almost any living material in the entire Bosque is a potential art supply. I have flowers that supposedly the stems of them can be used to make paper. We've never even experimented with that, I don't think. We have dyes we can harvest. There's arnica here as a medicinal herb. I've got other medicinal herbs like turkey tail mushrooms. It's supposed to be good for leukemia. It's either bullshit or it isn't. We got to find out which. We are surrounded by free, extremely great pine needles, which make great pine needle tea. Might even be able to make liqueurs out of them, especially if I'm buying mezcal from somewhere over there. A lot of times you'll hear me talk about something more than once. Like if you're watching videos that I've recently uploaded, you'll see that I am currently discussing some of the topics I've already gone into in depth in those. And that's just because I think it's okay to repeat myself. It is a way of thinking for me, thinking out loud. It's a way of me thinking about your needs and your perspectives and what I think they likely are. And in fact, you can directly comment and you can share with me your thoughts. And that's great. We do not have to think the same. Not into it. We are not one. We are many. But we can use that to our benefit. And that's what I want to do here. That's one of the reasons it's so important to me that this is a very multicultural space. I feel uncomfortable going into many social spaces because I don't think that my style is going to be welcome there. And that's one of the reasons I like hosting is because I can decide who I want to play with and how. And I get to live a more enriched life thinking I have value in the universe as a result, and I can offer that experience to other people as well. Uh, but things like, for example, Burning Man, I was very lonely there one year, and it's your own fault if you're lonely there. Although many people don't have these social skills or they have social anxiety, and so uh, actually it's a much more difficult place for people. Well, is for some people more than others. I think the first time you go is a fairly eye-opening experience. And again, now I'm back on why I like Burning Man, right? Although I think a lot of it's sort of sold out and become too much of a tourist attraction. And I really want the community aspect. I love the idea that people come together and their camp works for 6 months or a year to build something to go out there and share with other people. It could be just shade structure. It could be a cool art thing, with fire and water and stuff, or blinky things or whatever. And I would like to invite the kind of people here who make proposals of what they can do, because I don't know enough creators here in Mexico, right? And it's easier for them to transport bigger things here. Um, Now, one sad thing is I'm not near a place like San Francisco. San Francisco has been a space for creative people drawn from all of the United States for all of my lifetime and before. And it's also a place where there's a fair amount of wealth, and that is handy if you want to create cool projects. So in that case, I mean, people would be bringing their own art things, and really, I guess I want to make a proposal, and I want them to answer questions like, what do they need from us? How much exact amount of electricity would they need? At what times? How do they see this fitting in with the culture? Do they need to borrow any tools that we have here as standard? Would they like to improve one of the many spots we have available in the forest picked out for various reasons? Would they like to leave here with any plants that they can plant somewhere and seeds with the promise that they'll document their own projects with planting those seeds? I would love to see that. So I make a social contract with them, and I'm not even saying I'll ever see them again necessarily, but they come, they get trees, and they take them back to their place or seeds. And I missed the opportunity this year. It happened a little bit, but not enough. And people contacted me too late for that. So that was one of my big goals for this year, but I still was not even mobile enough to handle that. And I need to get my friends and associates to come help me do that, like help me organize it. And I can organize it, but like run it, because I might as well be able to. I don't know. People should have their own shovels. I guess you know what? I'm going to require people bring their own shovels, and then maybe I'll have backup ones, or maybe I'll have spaces where we can dig it up for someone. But I want a flow of trees out of here that we can then put even in places down by the lake bed. I need to make friends over there. I've got one friend in Uricho who's kind of a cool guy. His name's Fidel, and I barely met him. His mom was a really cool lady, and I assume she's not with us anymore because it's been a while. Although some of those ladies, they're tough. But she reproduced lots of plants, and he presumably has learned how to do that as well. He's a guy I should look into. He was younger at the time, but I'm sure he's, now mid-20s probably. Yeah, the annual calendar, the annual budget, the dream budget. I should actually write up 3 budgets and have them be viewable side by side on a spreadsheet, and have variable dollar amounts and also hour labor amounts on each one of those options. Option A, option B, option C. Estimate for labor, estimate for um, material costs, uh, have flags on it, for like, is a good project for visiting people on camera, or is it a project for locals to work on? And is it a project for the community, or is the project for working on infrastructure here? Because like I said, this is just a colossal amount of work. Anybody who wants to insult me for not having done enough uh, should fuck off. Yeah, I'll just say it as simple as that. I've done all I can do under very difficult conditions. I've done more harder core stuff than anybody else I know of, unless somebody was some kind of adventurer to somewhere like or even biking around the country, I guess, is pretty big adventure. But this particular Bosque adventure has been a wild. The sun is going down over there now. Damn. Huh. So other art materials are really the earth itself, and this is a big one. I mentioned the desert project, right? To make a desert. In that case, we're hiring materials, right? And then we're planting a bunch of things we think will like it in there. And some of those are going to now reproduce from seed, which will diversify the genome. And then other things are earth sculptures of various kinds. And I would say that probably one of the most interesting materials I have here is living plants. So we mentioned kinds of wood, but we have trees that are growing, and we can form them into bonsai-like shapes. We can form them into shade. We can plant them heavily with orchids, with binding things that are pretty. We can just make weird-looking shapes. And the tree, in many cases, already has the interesting parts in it. And you just have to see the direction it's going in and then push it to a bit more extreme. And this is kind of the plan for how to make a magic forest, to sculpt a forest. So if I was going to really invite almost anyone here, I would say that the most important material we can work with is shaping trees. I know a guy whose aesthetics are great. He's also the guy who does rock work here, and he can teach classes on doing fancy rock work. He did this up in Napa Valley for quite a while. And I think a long time ago, he showed me pictures of his work, and it was some cool projects. And the Bosque, if we have rock, we may even have to buy rock, which would be really weird. But some kinds of rock are so cheap to purchase. Particularly, there's a kind of porous rock from Mahuno, and there's red and there's black of that. The sand comes from the same place. They just grind it up, right? And so it would be cool to actually go there to a Mahuno, and then go to the place where they dig out gravel and see if there's big rocks just laying around, or see where they grind it into sand, and then see what the largest rocks they could deliver would be. And that would be cool for the Oasis project, which is about habitat restoration and having a liquid available all year long for a variety of kinds of animals and birds. That would be a hugely cool project. And all during the dry season, there'd just be this little drip on a couple different spigots or wherever we want. We can actually calculate how much water's coming out of the drip thing and exactly how much that cistern should have to get refilled very rarely. And it would be next to a roof for grabbing water onto it. And then have a big enough Tinaco. And I'm imagining something as big as 5,000 to 7,000 liters, pretty big. And essentially, we build a mountain around it of sculpted rock. And a lot of those rocky spots we could treat with resin. It's a natural sealant, not as perfect as some, and we can make decisions about that. But the idea is that during the rainy season, it's got a whole bunch of little lake areas on it because the rains, come every now and again. And if we were to fill up a sculpted rock thing, hey! Black-faced dog is here again. I just said in this very video that I hadn't seen him in a while. Where's my baby dog? I slacked off because I hadn't seen him. Get home. You go home. Frida. Oh, hi, Frida. There you are. Okay. Don't look over there. Don't go play with that dog. See, the thing is, she likes that dog. I mean, the dog's a nice dog. I hate being mean to it. It pains me. Ugh. Anyway, so with the Oasis thing, now I'm thinking something pretty damn big that would actually take quite a while to construct. And the idea of the extra pools all down it are kind of newer to me. But here's the thing I know. That cistern, if it has a big enough roof feeding into it, and it might be a roof that isn't right next to it. It could be we can run hoses under the ground. But then we have a tiny solar pump that we can adjust, hopefully on a rheostat. And we're going to bring water up from inside that tinaco, this big plastic thing that's buried, so that no solar radiation is going to hit it. and we pull that water up enough so that it dribbles out onto a tiny channel, and we can adjust that to whatever speed we want. During the rainy season, we can actually move rain from when it was raining into other times when there is less rain. So if we capture the very fierce rains of the year, we now expanded the rainy season in terms of birds. We're feeding bird baths suddenly, and we're willing to do that because this water is dedicated to this. It's not drinking water. We're going to try and keep it clean and everything. But then on the end of the rainy season, like now, this thing would fill up still really quick, and we can then, at minimum, get water way far out of this cistern. But the real goal is to make it all the way until June. So basically, this is an unusually late rainy season. It's wonderful. Essentially, from October 15th to June 15th. October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. Oh my, geez, 9 months? The thing is, it's not as bad as that because there are storms sometimes. And so what we would do is we would just keep an eye on those cisterns and then see how quickly they actually flow water out, like really figure it out and track it the whole time. This might involve like having a stick in it and the top that shows the depth. It could also mean that next to it, we actually have a spot where you can see the side of it. You can knock it, and we can actually estimate it that way. Another way to do it would be as if we position all these rocks almost as a stairway. In fact, we could at the top. I mean, this is getting out of hand now. This is what I do. It could be that there's kind of a spiral staircase of steps where you can go up to the top of this thing. And then up there we have, I just made it a little wider, maybe down, one that goes up, one that goes down, and then people don't run into each other. And have a little platform up there. So now we're making a tower. Oh, I just got to make things more difficult. But this is the thing, is that one of those, run correctly, would totally change the experience for wildlife here, especially if we could make it so that dogs could not get into it, get up very far into it. And because I want dog systems to be other systems. They're in with the people. But I can let other wildlife get up. And that means having little spots things can get through, little tunnels, a variety of ways we can do that. Yeah, I should probably draw that up. But that's a pretty expensive project. The pump is not going to be your bigger expense. I think it's just construction. Constructing something that's really gorgeously beautiful like that would be tricky. Now, it is tempting to have a way to get into that. So you're in with the tank now. And we've built a structure up around it to hide the tank. We're, of course, capturing off the top of that because we want to keep it really clean. Maybe put this in a place where there wasn't a lot of shade. Although a shady one would be so much better because the evaporation rate would go down. So it could be I could put it on the hillside below Bliss, for example, in that oak grove, and keep it from clogging up. Put multiple screens for any water captured so that I'm only feeding clean water into it. And that has shade and tons of habitat. And so even one of those would radically change things for so many animals here. Hundreds or thousands of birds and other kinds of wildlife would use that water. We can even put it in places where we discourage dogs to be at all. And now we're really encouraging, a lot of wildlife here. Because down by the lake, there's way more birds, of course. Because here, birds have to fly around further to even find water for a bunch of the year. What did I say it was? 9 months? 9 months. That's way too long for it to be dry. And it's not fully dry. But that would be fantastic. But even the Tanaco's actually, the prices come down. Might have gone back up now. I guess there's supply chain problems with everything in the damn world at the moment. And some of those long term, I believe, will actually continue for a variety of reasons. Maybe I'll make some hot tea. What a wild day. I got some hot peppers from my garden. I think they're chile perron or chile manzana or apple chili. I don't know what they're called, but I collected the seeds right here. And that is a perennial chile here. And I've only got it successful in one spot. And by next year, I want to successfully have that in a bunch more spots. And I think we should just try them in a lot of spots. And I think that it likes the thermal mass of the place it's in, and it's in the pool garden. And I have one on the other side of the pool garden too. But that's not good enough. I need to turn any, like this is over here. Look at this. What many people call this junky. Anyway, this is a brick building, and that's all microclimate around it. It's something that's soaking up thermal mass late in the day. And so, I should have all that planted around that, with things that won't hurt the foundation, obviously. Oh. Yeah, the idea of building things is tricky. I haven't worked with professional teams to do that, and I think that if I could ever get enough funding and have really my target buildings of what I need to build when and first, and after that, dorm-like things being one of the things on the list, so I can immediately increase the number of people I can have here. And that does not fit in very well with social isolation. And so perhaps that changes my goal back to making tiny huts. That people like tiny houses, right? In fact, I need to have places here to camp a tiny house or to park it. But the building I have that's probably the closest to what I'm really envisioning here is the Carpinteria. If I could figure out where to put those in places that would not conflict with future plans, right? They don't remove options. Then I should actually put those starting here, looking at the map, and just start radiating them out from here. Every X minutes walking away from one of those comfort stations should have another place where a comfort station is planned. And it's probably planned as part of a larger building. Now, I don't know where those places are at the moment, and I've been really slow about choosing things like that because you get locked in, And I've done it a couple times where I've done something, and then we even had to undo it. Oh, this is cool. We put in a trail over here, which is different than the trail over there. That's great. I don't know how far away I can get with this phone. All right, well, that's got to be that's 2 hours and 32 minutes. I can ramble on about some interesting topics for people at least interested in the project. As always, comment on parts of the project you're particularly interested in. If you have things that I don't know, or resources, I love when people link to resources, or, introducing me to people who, for whatever reason, would also love this project. But I've got this salad in a bucket here. I'm letting it bolt and go to seed instead of eating it. There's a bunch of lettuce greens way over there that I should look at. Any normal person would be like making salads all the time, and I would eat them. But I just never make a salad, ever. Just don't do it. I'm hungry again. All right. Okay, well, I think that's going to be it for me. I didn't know I could flip the camera. Huh. Save highlight, share, mute microphone. Share it, I guess. Create a post. To my newsfeed. Oh, wow, I'm still broadcasting, I think. I am. I don't know what I'm doing. let's see, filters, commentary,